Oh yeah.
Zoom sure did blow up, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
And we're evidence of that. That's what we're using today.
Yeah, I bought a contract. I bought a month-to-month with them.
Yep.
Because I was communicating with my mentors during the whole process.
Cool. Well, hi, Paul. Are you there? You doing okay? Guess she took a break.
So I have a question, since this is what this is about.
Okay, go for it.
I had an REO. Have you dealt with any REOs before as far as I guess, semi-new build? And when I say semi-new build, the house was leveled. They built the slab, the framing, the roof, and they put the siding on. Well, I say siding, it's not siding, the plywood around it. Plumbing was done. Electrical was done, but somebody's come in and sabotaged the electrical.
Stole the copper?
No, they didn't. Well, some places it was stolen, but most places where you could reach, somebody came through and just cut the wires.
They just cut it? They didn't even take it?
No, they just cut it.
I wonder if they got caught doing it and didn't get that far.
Or somebody was pissed off and didn't get paid.
Yep. Well, that could be. I've bought one house that was stripped of the copper, including copper pipes. And when they did it, all they did is cut the line. They didn't bother turning the water off. And it flooded the whole house.
Ouch.
It was a good deal for me.
Yeah.
But the California investor that I bought it from didn't much appreciate it, especially since he just totally rehabbed it to put it back on the market for rent again.
Oh, well, I guess my question is on that is how, especially since I'm new and I'm looking at possibly doing this. I have two mentors that will help me, and they're going to look over my numbers today. I can't figure out how the numbers would even work where you can make money on something like that. Because they're wanting 186 for it, and I'm being told it's about 115 a square foot, which is 200 and something. ARV's 330. There's not even room for the holding cost or anything like that.
So there's a lot of situations like that out there that you just have to pass on. Some of that stuff is just it's only going to work for a buy and hold kind of guy that is not looking for as big of a spread. There's other guys that, owner occupants maybe that want to live in the neighborhood. Maybe they are a builder and do it themselves. But for an investor, a lot of times those kind of deals do not work. And you just got to say, I can't do it, and move on. I have a lot of that kind of stuff.
So it's probably not my numbers. It's probably just the fact it's not a legit deal. Yep.
And to say it's not your numbers, what I would say is just go back and double check it, or have your mentors double check it, and just confirm what you're doing is correct.
Okay, that's what I have them doing.
So, I mean, that's sometimes you don't like to walk away. Sometimes they look like a deal on the surface, but then when you start doing the analysis, I mean, when I walk up and see a house like you just described, I'm thinking money, sounds good. There's a deal there, but it may not be. And then, of course, the other thing you have to, in my opinion, that you have to be concerned with is COVID-19. If you don't keep that in the back of your mind right now, for some extended period of time on down the road, I think people are making a mistake to just ignore it and think it's over. All you have to do is watch the news to know it's not over. Does that make sense?
Are you Are you saying the fact that you think it's going to hit up again?
Well, I'm saying we don't know. If you depends on where the property's at and what who you're listening to. But let's just take Parker County versus Dallas County. Well, Parker County is still only at something like 80 some cases total. But Dallas County last week, they had 3 or 4 record breaking number of days with the number of cases, over 285 new cases a day for like 4 days in a row. So all I'm saying is that we need to watch it, because if that continues, think about the protesters. I've already heard some indication that all these protesters that, it's a sad situation of what happened with this, and they need to speak out, but all these protesters are potentially contaminating themselves and spreading it to other people. And we'll know more over the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think, as to whether or not those cases are going to go up. But what if the unemployment stays high for an extended period of time, and you don't have the buyers that you thought you would have? If you go spend all that money on rehabbing your house and then you can't sell it, now you've got increased holding costs. I'm not saying you won't sell it, but I'm saying you need to take that into consideration in your analysis and account for that additional holding costs that you could have potentially. That's all I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I understand.
So,
I mean, that's what hurt me in my first. That's one thing that hurt me in my first flip, because it went on the market a week before it hit, and we actually had people calling and canceling their showings. They were like, "We'll wait till this passes before we start looking again."
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I've been keeping in touch with my realtor that lists all my rehabs, and she started off saying things are great, life is good, everything's selling fast, new listings, da 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 da. Well, now she's singing a different tune. Things have really slowed down. The people that were thinking about selling have decided, I'm gonna put it off a little while and see what's going on. They might be anxious about letting people in the house to see it if they're trying to sell. Maybe they're not interested in going out and looking at other houses to move into because of what's going on. So the market has changed considerably. She's also told me, though, that the homes that are on the market do sell pretty quick and at a good price because there's such a low inventory. But it has a domino effect. I mean, there's no such thing as a guarantee in this business, and there's so much uncertainty, I think, about COVID-19 and what's going to happen. Even though the government's sending everybody back to work and opening businesses up, that doesn't mean it's over. And I'm just taking the conservative approach. I don't want you to stop buying, because you need to buy and people need to sell. But I'm just saying, make sure you take that into consideration in your analysis. One of the things that I believe has helped me survive 20 years in this business is not being stupid and not shortchanging myself on the numbers, and always making sure that I have a little extra fudge factor in the holding costs, in the repair costs, just to make sure that I'm safe. And it's paid off. I'm still here. Many other investors are in and out of this business pretty quick. So, okay, welcome James and Paula and Steve and Oren. Good to see everybody. You're welcome to turn on your videos and say hello and turn on your mic, or we can unmute you, but just say hello and who you are and what you're doing and where you're located. And before we get started here, we'll just do a quick introduction with everybody.
I can start for you. How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing great, James. Good to see you.
My name's James Connor. I'm here in Dallas, Fort Worth. I'm on North Fort Worth on the Haslett side. Full-time active investor. Belong to several of these groups. Still have yet to do a deal, but I've been laying the groundwork, and I'm not very far from getting a deal. My marketing campaign is huge. I went back and learned how to do some different marketing that I wasn't familiar with before. I've got the Craigslist going. I do the cold calling. I just bought the Mojo, so I'll start my cold calling this week to fill in the gaps. And then, like I said, I'm running a Facebook marketing campaign. I've partnered with another person that does it quite a bit, and that's kind of where I'm at. So eventually, the whole thing will start moving. It's just you got to lay the groundwork. There's a lot of information to learn.
Absolutely. Thanks, James.
I do got a
Lauren, you
question
there?
for you though. Can
What?
I ask a real quick question?
Yeah,
Why
well,
did you?
can we do it?
Okay, whenever you let me know.
I just wanted to do a quick introduction with everybody, and then we'll come back to that, if you don't mind. Oren, you want to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, so my name is Oren. I'm actually new to the business.
Welcome.
Thank you. Originally, I actually partnered up with two other partners. They are actually out of the country. So we were looking at Fort Worth, but now we are closing more on Wichita Falls. I base in Plano, so it's a bit of a drive.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. But for us, we find it's a more suitable market pricing wise. So yeah.
Okay.
That's where I am.
Well, good. Welcome to the group. Roger,
Thanks.
want to do a quick introduction?
Roger Kreitz, I guess part-time investor because I still work during the day. Basically trying to get my properties from wholesalers. Just completed my first flip, even during the COVID. Looking to try to do this full time, but want to make sure I get established before I do it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Paula?
Sure how to do this. Can you hear me?
Just barely.
Okay, let me see if I can turn this up.
Are you there?
I'm not really
All right.
headphone on and
Yeah, I can hardly hear you, Paula.
hardly hear me. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
That's a little better.
A little better.
Are you on a headset?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, usually a headset's pretty good, but well, go ahead.
I might not have this working right. I haven't had this. Anyway, my name is Paula Perkins. I live in Dallas in the Lake Highlands area. I am a newbie. I started sometime last fall working with, at least I got the trainings and I'm still learning. And I basically decided to just kind of target a certain market. And I've put a marketing campaign together to address that particular group. I have a table full of items now that I need to take to the post office and mail. So I'm going to market to that particular group and then just basically follow up in this marketing campaign to that particular group. And like I said, I found you, or you found me, and I'm eager to learn some more. I know this is an ongoing process. You're gonna be learning something every day, and just going through the steps, getting familiar with everything. That's where I'm at right now.
Okay. Well, welcome to the group, and look forward to working with you. Steve?
Hi, Tim, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so Steve Washko, hello everyone. My partner and I are wholesalers operating out of Mansfield, right between Dallas and Fort Worth, covering the whole Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And our primary marketing method so far is texting, and we're getting some good leads. Haven't yet closed our first deal, but we have one that's promising here that we've been working on, and we recently expanded into trying to learn seller financing. So when we get to the questions portion, Tim, I have a few questions. I know we'll cover that in depth Thursday. I'm signed up for your subject 2 there, but do have a few questions about that.
Okay, cool. Well, welcome to the call today, Steve.
Thank you.
So my name's Tim Cook. I'm a real estate investor. I've been in the business 20 years, and I've had the West DFW REI group for 10 and a half years now. And this call is an exciting call for me. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time is have a members only call. So everybody on these calls for this Tim's Tuesday Tips call is going to be the paid members only. So we will be able to keep the focus on you and your deals and try and help you, do more deals in the business. So today's a little bit unique for me. I had this call set up for a long time, and then the city of Saginaw, or the JP forecourt, reset a eviction that I had that was put on hold because of COVID-19. And it happens to be, eviction court happens to be at 1:30 today. So I thought, do I cancel the call or do I try and figure out how to do both? So I'm sitting over here in the JP4 courthouse at Lake Worth under a big shade tree in my truck, having this call on my iPad. So if it seems kind of weird at all, that's what it is. Here's my steering wheel. So no, I'm not driving down the road. I'm sitting under a big shade tree and it's pretty comfortable. So thanks for attending the call. These calls, we're going to be kind of writing the rules as we go. We're not going to really have any rules other than we want to stay focused on real estate investing, and we want to help you with, doing deals, understanding your membership benefits more, such as, helping you with your free website that you have and the tools that we have, and things like that. So that's what I wanted to do, is be able to give you some time to help you move forward in your business. And from there, I'll just open it up. And I know James had a question at the beginning, so we'll go ahead and start it off with James, and then we're just going to open it up. We can take you off mute if you'd like. All I ask is that if there's anything noisy going on in the background, to put yourself back on mute so it doesn't interfere with the rest of the group in the call. So go ahead, James. What was your question?
Okay, so I'm kind of heavy into the technology side of this because I'm trying to understand it, and I know that in order to scale, you have to use the technology side of it. So
Absolutely.
One of the questions that I have for you, I know you're a big RealFlow proponent, and I have to ask why you moved away from the RealFlow websites and went to Investor Carrot as your website.
So I actually didn't move away from them. I have 12 or 13 different RealFlow sites, something like that. So I do use them. I have a buyer's list site that works 24/7, which you absolutely need to have so that you're building your buyer's list 24/7. I have several different seller sites. I have a probate site. I have a Weatherford house buyer site. I have a void foreclosure site. I mean, I have a lot of different sites. They're little niches. All the templates that they have, you're on RealFlow. So they have all these pre-made templates for you. All you have to do is go in and customize them to what you want in there. So I'm a big believer in them. Now, having said that, their sites are not perfect. However, I didn't tell you this, but I'm telling you that the new sites, they have all new sites coming, and it's been indicated to me it's coming this month.
Okay, because I just got off the phone with them because I got a problem with I can't get a field to be mandatory. I need a phone number to be mandatory rather than email, because email people can put in whatever they want. But if I put a phone number, at least they have to guess a little bit, and that's what I'm pushing.
Yep. So I knew that Pamela had told me that was your question. The new system are going to be WordPress-based sites. And I've been told that that's going to give us a lot more control on what we have. Now, will we be able to do that? I don't know. But here's the thing. I also use Investor Carrot. So carrot, you can make fields mandatory.
Right.
But the one thing that you need to consider, and it's good to make an informed decision, you may not like the decision, and sometimes you just have to at least understand what you're doing. The more required fields that you make people enter, the increased chance that they won't do anything.
Right.
So
the most someone ever uses is 3.
Yeah, just be careful. That's all I'm saying. Just be careful at what you make as mandatory. One of the things that they recommend is using a 2-step process. Give them, have them enter a name and an email address to start with, and then take them to step 2 and try and ask for that phone number in that step. Now, the RealFlow sites do have a phone number in them, so you can ask for the phone number, but not everybody's going to give it to you. And the people that new in the business, afraid, don't know you, a lot of times they're going to back out and not do anything if you require a phone number.
Okay, because
So,
I also ran into another issue with their website on the second page. Because the first page, even if you get past it, the second page, I can't even put a Facebook pixel in there to be able to grab the data that I'm looking for from Facebook. So that's why I was asking, what drove you to Investor Carrot and why?
Yeah, I just have, RealFlow is just really simple. Carrot wasn't out there when I first started RealFlow. I mean, I've been on RealFlow for 10 years.
Okay.
So, but I use Carrot just because they are, they're well optimized, they're easy to use, and I believe in diversifying. So I have 5 Carrot sites. We take that information and we just manually put it into RealFlow at this point. Now, the one thing I was telling Pamela that we have not done is RealFlow does give you the code to opt in, for an opt-in, to put it on the Carrot site. So you could take this code, put it on Investor Carrot, and then still capture leads from the Carrot sites into your RealFlow system. So that is an option in RealFlow. The code is there. You just have to go pick what format, what colors, and then you copy that code and insert it into Carrot.
All right, I'll reach out to them today to grab that because that would be huge.
It's actually on your site.
It's on my site?
It's on your RealFlow site.
Okay, I'll look and find it.
It's over under, go through the menu up, hit the top left menu, drop down.
Yeah.
And try looking under manage or communicate. I think there's an opt-in section, and that's what it is the code for the opt-in buttons.
Okay, I'll look for that.
Okay. So
Well,
who else
that
got a
helps
question?
Considerably. And I know you had a problem with not really understanding Facebook. Well, I'll tell you what, me and you will have to have a conversation because I think I finally figured, I've talked to several other people in the state that are using it, and they're using it effectively. They're getting anywhere from 12 to 18 leads per month. So it's worth the money.
Yeah, I'd like to see how they're doing that.
And I'll go through that when we can finally get together again.
Okay.
James, that's under lead flow, the opt-ins form.
There you go.
It's under lead flow.
Okay.
All right. Who's next? Who's got a question? Come on now. Somebody else got to have a question. What's going on in your business? Are you...
Tim,
Go
Steve
ahead, Steve.
Washko. Okay, thanks. So again, I know we're going to cover this in detail Thursday, but we have a potential seller who wants to do business with us. So, hoping maybe we can chat about it a little bit today. So first off, we did not sign any contract yet. So if I did this wrong, then, no worries. It's not like, it's a done deal yet. But so my concern is, I think from your subject to all day class that I attended in August, you like to stay in the middle of the deal basically rather than wholesaling a subject to to make sure that you're, honoring your commitment, right? But we're just starting out, and we were hoping to wholesale it. But then I heard from a coach this morning that it might not even be legal to, match a seller with a buyer for seller financing. So I guess that's a primary concern I wanted to address with you. Since we're not licensed real estate agents, was his concern.
Well, you can't do anything without a contract. You do not want to put a buyer with that seller without having that home under contract.
Yeah, totally understand that part. But he's like, even if we do have a contract, it's not legal.
So is this mentor, this person telling you that? Is he in Texas?
Well, so he knows that we're in Texas, but I believe he's out of Jacksonville, and specifically, he is a member of Ron LeGrand's advisor team, and I know they specialize, I believe, right in lease options rather than seller financing per se. Okay. But he was certain about what he was saying, so I got concerned.
Yeah, I don't. I'd have to hear more about what angle they're talking about, because to my knowledge, you have no issue whatsoever if you have that property under contract. You have equitable title, which gives you the ability to go market and promote that property for sale.
And we're marketing our contract, right? And our equitable interest, not the property, right? To be careful of that distinction, right?
I don't know that makes any difference, Steve. I mean,
okay.
People that, whether it's a subject to deal or a wholesale deal, I don't see that any different. I mean, Martin Garcia, the title company, they close those kind of deals all the time. I can't imagine why, just because it's a subject to deal, it would make any difference whatsoever.
Okay, well, that's good news. So,
okay. Yeah. Now let me back up though. It sounds like you think you have to wholesale it to make money, and you're not going to make any money if you try and keep it and owner finance it.
No, just that I guess I don't understand the complexities enough. We wanted to start simple and just make our money on the difference between the end buyer paid on the down payment and what we promised to the seller for the down payment, and then be out of the deal. But if you advise otherwise, we'll give it a shot.
Well, so here's the thing. If you bought that property subject to and take it over for next to nothing, like $10 down, earnest money or whatever you've agreed to, you could easily turn around and rent that and have a nice monthly cash flow if it's got a good set of terms on the current underlying mortgage. I mean, I did that over and over and over in the early 2000s, and then again during the crash in 2007-8 time frame. And I bought a lot of sub 2 deals that were 3 and 4% interest rates, and that allowed me to cash flow those things big time, making 3, 4, 5. I had one that was $900, almost $1,000 a month cash flow.
Wow. So,
you got to look at that. Now, you can, and then with your long-term exit strategy, selling it later, converting that renter to an owner finance buyer. Yeah, there's a lot of details behind selling with owner finance, but, you can go take classes on it and learn how to do that too. Or you can hire somebody to go, structure that package for you on selling it with owner finance. I mean, you're going to use an RMLO to do all the documentation and the title company to close it. So I'm just saying, just as long as you understand that, you could make a lot of money. You think about, let's say $10,000 assignment fee. Well, you could get 10 or 15 or 20 in a down payment, depending on the house, of course. But those are, I always like to get paid more than once if I can. So if you buy it sub 2 and sell it on a wrap, or rent it and then sell it on a wrap later, you can make a lot of money on that, not just that down payment amount.
Okay. And speaking of which, I have a further question about that, but I think maybe should I give another person a turn? This is about structuring the deal, and maybe we can come back to me, or.
Well, let's see who else got a question here. Anybody else have a question they want to ask? Anybody? That's what these calls are for, so we can open it up to you and answer your questions and help you move your business forward.
So I touched on this briefly that I work full-time during the day right now. So I don't have, I haven't set up the marketing. I was trying to deal with wholesalers. So what I'm afraid of is trying to build a marketing and missing leads because I can't follow up on it. What's advisable if you're working full-time to try to do marketing?
So, well, first off, how do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time, right? Marketing is a big elephant. I mean, you can do as much or as little as you want to. There's whether you want to do it manually. It kind of sounded like Paula might be writing postcards and letters. Am I right, Paula? Anyhow, it sounded like Paula might have been doing that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So whereas other people like to do, and James is showing you, was that a yellow letter, James? Yep. So, but there's a lot of different ways that you can market. RealFlow, it has a postcard and letter system built right in that you can automate that process. You can do thousands of mailings in a matter of a few minutes. You can go to places like clicktomail.com, which is a contract service with the Postal Service that will do postcards. RealFlow and Click-to-Mail are the cheapest postcards that I know of. If there's anybody else out there cheaper, I don't know who it is, but there may be. But they're like, 35 cents for printing and mailing. So it's really cheap. And
Do you want me to show an example of the ones that we do through RealFlow?
if you got one there handy. So that's an example there. They have a bunch of different ones now. They launched a new service just a few months ago where they have several different sizes. They have set messages, but then they have a customizable one that you can create your own message as well. Plus they have miniature yellow letter type things. So it's not a full 8.5 by 14 page, it's smaller. But they're, it's cheap and it's fast, it's a lot simpler. But then if you start getting too many, then you have to start thinking about, well, do you want to cut back on how much you're doing? Or do you want to hire somebody to start managing the leads? Whether that's an office assistant, a partner, a virtual assistant, it just depends on how fast you want to grow. And, do you have the time and money to handle hiring somebody and just what's your end goal here? I heard you say earlier, Roger, you wanted to get rid of your job and work full time. Well, yeah, the thing you have to do is do it systematically, plan it out, expand it, grow it. And then once you see that it's picking up and you're making more money, then maybe you hire an assistant or hire a virtual assistant and start expanding it. One of the things I liked about RealFlow is the fact that you can expand your business considerably with that tool because you can add people with no extra cost. You can have an assistant. You can have, my Pamela works on it, but we have a VA in the Philippines that works in RealFlow too. And you can also assign bird dogs through RealFlow to help you as well. So there's a lot of ways to really expand and grow your business using a system. There's other systems out there besides RealFlow, but that's the one that I've been on for 10.5 years. So that might tell you something about that particular system. Did that help, Roger?
It does.
Okay. Who's
Hey, Roger,
next?
Can I add a little bit to that?
You bet.
Here's something I'll throw at you, Roger, that I finally had somebody get across to me. As you're going through and you're going to go through that transition from where you got a W-2 job over to another job, there's no way that you're going to be able to take all those phone calls. So something to look at is maybe partner with somebody that is available that can gather the data and actually receive the phone call, run the seller script and gather the data. And then actually you can reach back out to them, or you can, partner with somebody else to have them close it. So start looking at the partnerships as well, because those will help you out. And I know that Tim, if he takes and turns around and you get a deal and say, hey, I need help with sub-2, you know what? Tim's going to take part of the deal. And you know what? That's how you work, is by partners. It's better to get 50% of a deal rather than 0% of a deal because you don't have the time.
Yeah, thanks, James. That was a good point. That's why coming to the investor group meetings when we have them, or doing it online, is so important. So you get to know one another and relationships and stuff, so that you know who to go to when you do need help, right? I just can't stress enough the importance of these group meetings, whether it's virtual or physical. I've started calling them our watering hole, because that's what it is, right? It's really a watering hole for investors to go get a drink of the goodie, the goodie stuff, the knowledge, the network, and the positive mental attitude, and rubbing elbows with like-minded people. It's so important, especially when you're new in the business. But when you need help with something, you have a resource to go to. So be looking for partners. I just want to caution you, though, on one thing with partners. I've been in the business 20 years, and I've never had a formal partner per se, other than my wife. And the reason that is I've heard so many horror stories about people creating formal partnerships because one partner stuck them in the back. They thought they were doing something they weren't doing, or they ripped them off or something. So just be cautious when you think about formal partnerships. But there's nothing wrong with doing a joint venture partnership with somebody in the group that's specific to that deal. Does that make sense? Just get to know people, build relationships. You've heard the saying before, trust but verify. Always verify who somebody is. Get to know them. Make sure that people come highly recommended and know who you're dealing with. So that was quite a flip you did there, Roger. Spin around circle there. Okay, what else? What else? Somebody's got a question, I know. Cal, you're sitting there awful quiet. Okay, Oren. Oren, did you have a question? Okay, well, let's go back to Steve. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, my mic was off. So I wanted to know what you see currently in the market, because every realtor I talk with, they're saying the market is very hot currently. For every deal, there are a lot of jumpings, and so what do you see? What do you guys see in the market?
Who's telling you that?
Realtors, prospect realtors that I'm working with.
Okay. Tell them to prove it. I don't know if you heard me at the beginning, Oren, but I have a realtor I've been working with for years that lists all of my flips when I'm done with the rehab on it. And at the beginning of COVID-19, she said, oh, things are hot. People are still listing. The properties are selling quick and selling at a good price. Well, now people have stopped listing, and that means a low inventory. Okay. So the properties that are being sold are selling pretty quick because there's not much inventory. There are a lot of people, though, that are hesitant to go out and look at properties or have people coming through their house to look at it because people are still afraid of COVID-19. I think there is a lot of opportunities out there, but you still have to take your precautions, do your due diligence. And as I was mentioning earlier, I'm not sure if you were on the call earlier when I was saying this, I personally am taking a little bit more of a conservative approach on my offer price to account for additional holding costs. Because what if I buy it and my rehab contractors are all sick, or several of them are sick and going to slow it down? When COVID first started happening, I had just bought a mobile home down in Granbury, and the contractor was telling me that they were having trouble getting some of the materials that they ordered because a lot of the workers were out sick or stay at home and weren't working, laid off. So is that going to really happen if you bought a house today? I don't have a clue. But what I do know is I want to account for it to make sure that if it does happen, I have the cost to cover additional holding costs. Make sense?
Yep.
So somebody on the call was saying they had trouble with getting a house closed earlier. Oh, I think it was Roger, wasn't it? Took longer, month and a half longer than normal.
Yeah, people were
So-
canceling their showings and everything else.
Yep. I know somebody else that's doing a rehab right now that the city of Fort Worth, because they all shut down and all their home inspectors, they had to get all these different permits and engineering drawings done and stuff. They are like 3 months behind. Well, just think if you've taken out hard money, which he has done. He took out hard money in this deal, and nobody's working on this house because you can't get the city of Fort Worth to give you permits, and you can't get the engineers to give you engineering drawings and so forth. So that's just my take on it. I'm trying to be conservative. I don't want you to lose money. I think you should take a conservative approach and make sure you add in that extra money when you make your offer for added holding costs. I do think if you have a rehab available, they'll sell fast. Wholesale deals are still selling fast. But long term, I think home prices are going to go down some. And I think you're going to see a huge increase in subject to deals. And by the way, if you haven't already registered, I highly recommend you all register today for the call Thursday night, where I'm going to be presenting how to buy houses with no money again with the Dallas REI group. It's going to be an online call like this. I do this presentation once or twice a year, and it's always in big demand. Now it's in big demand because I think there's a big wave of pre-foreclosure subject to kind of deals coming because of all the high unemployment rates and people out of jobs. The government subsidy checks are going to stop coming. They're not big enough to pay the payments anyhow. And if people don't get reemployed soon, they're going to have a big problem with trying to make mortgage payments. And that's kind of how I grew my business, was doing subject to deals. So that's how I started back in 2000, was doing sub two deals instead of wholesale deals. And that's what I'm going to be teaching. So this is going to be it's a free event Thursday. This is going to be more focused on what to look for, how to evaluate them, things like that. And then in August, we're going to be doing an all-day workshop. We don't know yet if it's going to be a physical workshop or a virtual, but we're going to do an all-day workshop and take you through the details step by step on how to evaluate, how to do the deals, the paperwork, so on and so forth. So go get registered if you haven't already done that.
And if you have trouble getting registered for that, if it tries to charge you, call our office. Please don't pay it. Call our office.
Yep.
That is
It is a
Thursday
free
is a free
event.
event.
but we are having some technical difficulties with it wanting to charge people. All right, what's next?
I think Kyle had a question.
I do. This is Kyle. How are y'all?
Good, Kyle. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I just wanted to comment really. You are on the money. I'm an agent locally, and
Okay.
you're absolutely on the money about the market. Everything you said is absolutely correct.
Thank you.
I'm not doing hardly any listings, but buying like crazy for people. My focus is definitely on investment, but I do have a couple in there fast enough to put an offer in. It's already gone.
Yep. And what are you seeing for pricing now, Kyle?
So there's no inventory. It's going down just a hair, just a hair, not dramatically, but it is.
Yep. And,
I am
and
seeing a lot of, is anybody on the call that's going to the, worried about foreclosures? Or are they having no sense of urgency?
You are breaking up pretty bad, Kyle. I didn't really hear the entire question. Kyle, can you repeat your question again? I couldn't really hear what it was. Are you there, Kyle? Can you unmute yourself?
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you now.
I am so sorry. I am technology, obviously not very good today with it. Operator error.
So what was your question again?
What I was saying was, is anybody noticing on the foreclosures and stuff that people have no sense of urgency? It's difficult to get them to commit to anything right now. That's just been my experience in the last couple of weeks.
I have not spoken to many yet, but that would have been my first guess. The fact that the government has put a moratorium on the foreclosures, and a lot of people, I think, still thinking that their government assistance checks are still in the mail, and they're going to cover their mortgage payments and stuff. It doesn't surprise me in the least that they are just dragging their feet, no sense of urgency. I think that's going to change soon, though, especially if they don't get reemployed quickly.
Yeah, real soon.
It's only been a couple months, right? So the bank is not pounded on their door yet with foreclosure notices, and they might have gotten their government check. They might not have. So there's no real need. Plus, it's summertime. Plus, unemployment's paying them more for unemployment than they were working. So why should they be in a big rush?
No, you are absolutely right about that too. I mean,
but it's coming.
But when it comes, it's going to be to where no one can even handle it because they're all going to be in a world of hurt.
I'm ready.
I'm standing in line with you.
Are you coming to the call Thursday?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be a good call. And especially for realtors that can work both sides of things, investor and realtor side. And so many realtors don't understand the subject to process. But that's what I've been doing for 20 years.
Well, that's where you can make some real money. That's what you said too a minute ago. That's how you started your business. And that's what I've read from everybody, that if you really, really want to get in this, that's where you have to get your business started, is that'll jumpstart it.
Right. How long have you been a realtor?
I've only been an agent coming up on 3 years.
Okay. Are you an investor too yourself, or?
My focus is investments.
Okay. And where are you located?
I'm in Arlington. I'm actually my broker is Joe Boston. I don't know if you know Joe or not.
I'm doing this event Thursday for Joe.
I thought you said that. Anyway, yeah. So you get what I do now.
I do. Yep. Joe's a great guy. I've known him for years, and he spoke at my group this last Saturday, on the reverse close. So
That's
guy.
how I found out about you guys is because of Joe.
okay, cool. Well, welcome to the group. Who
Well,
else has
thank
got
you.
a
I
question?
appreciate that. I didn't mean
You're
to
welcome.
monopolize the time.
That's okay. Who else has got a question? Anybody else before we go back to Steve? Okay, Steve, you still have your question there?
Yeah, I do, Tim. Thanks. Assuming we do wholesale this seller financing potential deal I was telling you about, and I understand we could make more money, doing what you said, but just so that I can understand, the seller currently has a mortgage where she also, in her monthly mortgage payment, is submitting her taxes and insurance every month, and she wanted me to confirm for her that she can immediately stop paying her taxes and insurance, and that the end buyer that we find for her would take those over. So is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, are the payments current?
Yes, they are.
Okay. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you explain to the seller that their mortgage payment, when they pay it, the interest is paid in arrears. So when they pay their June mortgage payment, they're paying their May interest. So my recommendation is, and the way I've always structured my deal, is that I always take over making the payments the following month, 30 days after the closing. Okay? So that way they still are, if you close on 1 June, they still got to pay the 1 June mortgage, tax, and insurance, and then you take it over 1 July. Now, what happens if they're in default? Or what happens if you don't have a lot of equity in the deal? I've done this many a time. If there's no equity in the deal, structure your deal where the seller pays 3 months or 6 months or 9 months of mortgage payments for you.
So does that mean you don't close until 6
No,
months?
no.
And okay. I
No.
guess I don't quite understand how they're, even if we close, then they were still making 6 more months, you're saying, of their payments?
Yep. Now, that doesn't work very well with somebody that don't care about their credit. If they've got a 450 credit score, do you care? Do you think they care if they don't live up to the deal and pay the next 6 months of mortgage payments?
I think they're figuring it won't get that much worse, right? So really, why should they care, right?
Well, and you've committed, you've closed on the deal and bought it, right?
Uh-huh.
So if you own it now, you're at risk if you don't pay it, right?
Okay.
So you wouldn't want to do that with a seller that's got bad credit. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting them to pay you at closing, though. So if, let's say you wanted, you needed $5,000 from them, I wouldn't rely on $5,000 worth of mortgage payments, but there's nothing wrong with making you, not making them, but agreeing to them paying you $5,000 at closing. That way you don't have to rely on them to go pay the payment. Where that does really work well, though, is what if your seller has an 800 credit score? Do you think if they agree to pay 3 payments, do you think they're going to risk missing the payment and messing up their credit score?
No, I think it's like the situation you taught us, in your classes where it might be a military person who gets located out of town, got a perfect 800 credit score and doesn't, the primary reason for going subject to, right, he or she does not want to damage their credit at all, wants to maintain the perfect one, right?
That's right. So you got to look at, what is that seller's background and whether or not that works or not. But if her paying, if she is current on her payments, but the answer to her particular question is that yes, you will take over those payments the following month, 30 days after closing.
Okay, and then so
whether
basically,
it's you,
okay.
Whether it's you or your new buyer, they're going to take those payments over.
Okay, so 30 days after closing, the end buyer would start paying the principal, the interest, the taxes, and the insurance, and the taxes and insurance would go to someone like August REI as a third-party loan servicing company would be a good idea.
Well, my recommendation is that's the only way to do it.
Okay.
Do not leave it up to the buyer to do
Right.
it.
Understood.
Give it to August REI and let them manage that payment.
Okay, so just two more real quick follow-up questions, if I could. So
Okay,
basically,
I only have about 5 to 10 minutes left, folks, just to make sure you're aware of that. And then I'm gonna have to let you go in order to get in for my eviction court. So.
okay, yeah, Tim, just real quick. Then we structured our deal, and again, we didn't sign it yet in case I did this wrong, but we structured the deal so that the monthly payments to the seller would just cover her principal and interest, not the taxes and insurance, but that the taxes and insurance, would then be paid like through August REI. Is that a good way?
You don't need a payment to the seller.
I guess yeah.
You just need to, in your agreement, say that buyer will take over or buyer will begin making the mortgage payment, the underlying mortgage payment 30 days after closing.
Okay, so that would take care of everything, the principal, the interest, the taxes, and the insurance that will be taken over 30 days after.
Or you can spell it out. The principal and interest, taxes, and insurance.
Okay, great. Well, thank you.
Just to be clear.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, I guess just one more super quick question. Is the seller, and I guess this would depend on each deal, but is she going to maybe owe some prorated taxes and insurance at closing, or her responsibility stops, or will she actually get money back because she's been paying 1/12 of taxes and insurance, all this year?
Well, if it's prorated, I mean, so again, this is one of those things, it's all on what you negotiate and the documentation that you have. I always have in my contract that the escrow account, if it's escrowed, the escrow account is assigned to the buyer. So whatever's in that escrow account goes to the buyer so that when it's time to pay all those taxes and insurance, that the money is there like has been paid for all along.
So it's like a transfer of that escrow account from the seller, like into the buyer's name? And can someone okay.
It's just the agreement. See that it's if the mortgage is Wells Fargo, then they hold the taxes and insurance. So, it's just the agreement that they don't get that taxes and insurance. That agreement says they understand that it's being rolled over to you as the buyer.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, what else? Got a couple more question time here left. We're just about done. Kyle, James, anybody? Paula, got any more questions? Roger? Okay.
I got a quick question.
Okay.
In 2 minutes or less, because I know you're going into eviction court. Just any words of wisdom you might have that we're trying to close, and they own the house outright. They're not having issues creative financing.
Okay, so you broke up again pretty bad here. That's why I just turned off my video. Go ahead and say that again, Kyle.
Can you hear me better now?
Go ahead.
Creative financing for
I did. Can I call you back shortly, John? We are on a call. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Sorry.
Something's going on here. I didn't try it one more time.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Just any kind of creative financing you would suggest or throw out there for a 100% owned property.
Okay.
That I currently have in a great, it's a good property in Arlington.
This is your property?
No, we're buying it.
Okay. Um, what is the seller's motivation?
Nothing. She just owned it forever. She's elderly. She and her husband.
Okay.
They just don't want the aggravation.
So have you ever heard of people making offers full price, paying or full price or more on an owner finance deal?
I have.
So, with owner financing, those are my favorite properties, because if you have a motivated seller that is willing to sell, then, you can structure so many different ways of buying it, whether it's no money down. I did the deal just to kind of, to your point here. It was a 1-year-old home in Saginaw that the buyers bought. They were married. He passed away a year later. She called me because we were both veterans, and she said, "I don't want to lose money, Tim. Can you help?" And I said, "Well, I have to make some money somehow. So you're going to see several different creative solutions on how I can help." And what I proposed to her, she didn't like the cash offer because, she'd only owned it a year. They paid $145,000 for the house. I offered 95 or 100 for cash. She didn't take that. I then offered her 146,000. She paid 145, but my 146 was no money down, no payments for 2 years, and 2% interest rate. So in the meantime, in that 2-year period, I rented it for $1,450 a month. A year later, I sold it for $15,000 down at 160 or 165 at 8%. So I'm paying her 2%. I'm collecting 8%. Do you think I made a pretty good deal?
Yeah, that's exactly why I asked you this question. God, that was very informative. Thank you. Thank you.
So, you have to play out the numbers, and see how those numbers work for you, but you got to understand what the seller's motivation is and what they want. You can give them what they want, but a lot of people, just because a home is free and clear, a lot of people assume the seller needs money. A lot of times sellers don't need money, and they're willing to take payments. So her main goal, I heard her say it many times, "I don't want to lose money, Tim. Can you help?" And I see the house across the street been listed for a long time, so she didn't want to list it. Well, it really helped me, the fact that that house across the street wasn't ready to sell, and that's why it sat there for a long time. And she didn't want to deal with listing it, keeping it spotless, leaving for showings. She wanted to sell it quick and be done, and that's what I gave her. I gave her more than she paid. She got it done quickly. She had one showing, that was with me, and she moved on, and we got it paid off. We sold it, and it's been refinanced and paid off at this point. So worked out just like we planned. So listen, everybody, it's 1:03. I do need to let you go. I'd like to get a thumbs up from everybody what you thought of the call, if you like these calls. Did you think it was good? Pamela, unmute everybody, please. What I'd like for you to do is think about what you'd like to see for the next one. These are going to be monthly calls. And, I would suggest that since you've been through one now, spend a little time on thinking about it, planning, put together questions for the call, what you would like to see. Reach out to Pamela and let her know if you got any ideas on what you'd like to see for the future calls. And we want to keep these going. Invite the other members, invite non-members. They can join. They just have to become a member first of the group, and then become sign up for these member-only calls. So we'll be doing these every month until people get tired of doing them. This is the first one. I expected a low turnout, but it was kind of good since I wasn't sure doing it on my iPad in my truck. Wasn't sure how it was going to work out. So seemed to be pretty good, though, other than a little bit of difficulty with Kyle's call. So any last parting comments, questions?
Tim, tremendously valuable. Really appreciate you. You always are going above and beyond extra to help us out. Really, really appreciate it.
Cool. You're
I'm
welcome.
with Steve. Thanks so much, Tim. Thanks
You're
so
welcome.
very much. You were very helpful, and good luck in eviction court.
Thank you very much. It should be a slam dunk. They were in default on the 1st of March, but they ended up abandoning the house, and I didn't find out about it till 23 April. So, but anyhow, lots of damage. It's all been rehabbed now. It's pretty, we think we have it rented already. So, but anyhow, hopefully she don't show up today.
I bet she won't.
She left her constable notice in the house, so I have it. All right, everybody. Listen, I got to go. Thank you very much, and we'll see you
Appreciate
soon.
it.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.